right, AJT fam. This is another earnings trade, but this is another unique situation. Like I was telling the guys earlier, you can't. This is why I'm so adamant, and the people that are learned in trading are so adamant that you can't learn trading from reading a book. You can't learn trading from watching a video or taking classes or going to seminars. You can't learn trading that way because each moment in the market is unique. Each trade is different. Even though you get the same setup, the same entry trigger, what happens after you enter the stock is always different. And then even what happens before is different. You know, no two trades are going to be the same. So the only way to truly learn is to experience it. Whether you're watching it happen live every day. Because look, every day is going to present a different set of circumstances. And it's always a good thing to learn. So learning it as things happen live, and then actually putting into practice what you're learning, experiencing the different market conditions, it's the best way to learn. So, and this is one trade that proves that point. Here, the earnings announcement was supposed to be dropped at 405. About 402, between 402 and 403, this candle started to rip. Let's go back. Let's look at this. What time is this? Yeah, between 402 and 404, this candle started to rip. Okay? It started ripping. The earnings announcement hadn't come out. We haven't heard anything on it. Nothing. It was just going. So then I wasn't going to jump in it. I kind of got that itch to Ed. You need to go ahead and jump in and ride this thing up. You know, it took out the 100-day moving average, the 50-day moving average. It was just running. But I was like, no, I'm going to let this candle print, and then I'm going to get in if we start to break up. So it started to break up. I got in. Now, you could easily be confused with this later on. If you've never experienced this before, if it happens again, then, you know, it may, if it happens to you again, I got to stop out. Because it's pulling back the break even for me. So what would happen is you would get frozen on this, and then not really understand what to do. And while we're trading this, you're gonna sit there, you know, feeling bad because you missed the trade. So you want to come in and you want to, if you're learning a strategy, you want to be able to immerse yourself in it and learn everything that you need to learn and see how all the different scenarios can play out. And, you know, we talked about that, and this is just another case of that. So my first profit target was 171, but because we were having trouble, I changed it to 170.50, and it ended up, you know, we got it at 170.71. So I was only about 29 cents outside of my target. And then 172.50 was my next target. You can see right here on the daily chart, which was right here. The next daily level is 175.56. I got 175 here. If we do pull back and we do get a strong bounce, then I can add looking for 175. But it looks like, people aren't liking what they're hearing in the conference call, and this thing is pulling back in. But we did lock in a pretty solid amount here on these two profit targets. But now you see that's pretty much how we had it set up. Oh, about my granddad. Well, I showed you guys this. I showed it to you last week, I think. The big movie out now is Oppenheimer. So my granddad was a part of this is my granddad. He was a part of the Manhattan Project. He worked at the metallurgical lab at the University of Chicago. He was recruited because he went to the University of Chicago to pursue a PhD in surface chemistry. His professor recruited him to work on this project. So yeah, he went through and told me the interview they did and all of this stuff. But he ended up working there, and I knew, I was like, I'm going to see Oppenheimer, which I knew he wouldn't actually be in the movie, his character, because he was just a group of 6 or 7 guys, maybe 8 that just worked in that lab at University of Chicago, separating plutonium from uranium, so they'd have the materials for the bomb. And it took a long time to do that, and you could only get a little bit at a time. So he was there doing that. And I was saying, I went to see Oppenheimer, and he goes, there was one scene I saw where he went to visit the University of Chicago, and there was 6 or 7 scientists that he was meeting with. These were the metallurgy team. One of the guys was black. And so I was like, they got my granddaddy in here, because he was the only black person on the team. But it's funny how they do all of it, because if you look at him, he didn't look black, but he was. And so in the movie, they put the darkest person they could find on there, which is what they do for everybody to make the contrast. But it was just crazy. But that's what we were talking about. And I'm going to, there's a newspaper article where he was interviewed back in the early 90s before he passed away, where he talked about his time there. He talked about Oppenheimer and all of that. So I'm going to get that. My mom has it at her house. So when I go there in a little bit, I'm going to get it from her, so you guys will be able to check it out. All right, so that's it. This is the earnings trade from today. Well, I don't think I'm going to make any more money on it, so I can tell you. Let me pull up the P&L for that particular trade. Um, 1679.79. That's what we got on this. 1679.79, and it still may not be over. And I wasn't gonna hold it past break even on my 2 entries here, just to see if it's not gonna work or not. So if we do bounce and take out the 9 again, I'll be adding in and potentially holding this overnight if it holds support. I had 800 shares altogether at one time. Yes. So, guys, that's the plan. You know, we locked in. This isn't a lot of money. You know, typically we'll lock in 25 to 3,500 on an earnings trade. This one was just a little bit crazy. Remember, it didn't, the way it announced and how it started moving before there was any announcement. It it really kind of limited some of the potential we get. But hey, who's to say it won't take off and run again? You know, I doubt it, but it could. But I'm happy with it. Um, shit, I didn't realize I did this bad today. But we did make back a lot of what I lost. So I did make back a lot of that. But not bad. But just wanted to share the uniqueness of this particular earnings trade.